It's true, I love
so
you.
sweet, I love
Okay.
Also, you say that when you were a child, your brothers read the Phoenix comics, and now you are that character. So, what does it mean for you to play such an iconic character as Jean Grey?
Well, for me personally, you know, growing up, I hadn't really seen any superhero movies that had really kind of well-rounded female characters at the forefront. When I was younger, my brothers they were reading these comics, and so I went in. I was really young, but I went in and I read them, and Jean always stuck in my mind. And I think just because the Dark Phoenix saga was so interesting and so complex, that at a young age I hadn't really seen that before, and so to kind of however many years later to be able to be playing that character is just like a childhood dream come true. I think, you know, from when I was really, really, really young, I've always felt a connection with her because she spoke to me, because she's a well-rounded, flawed female, strong character.
Why would you think that it's important to make a good construction of female characters in this kind of movies?
I think it's important to make films with great female characters in all genres. I think the more that we ignore women in our media, the more injustice will continue around the world. So it's important to show women as they are, just like men as they are. You know, we're all human, and we're strong and powerful and fragile and vulnerable and compassionate, and there's jealous, and there's so many shades of what it is to be a human being. And so yes, it's incredibly important to show that in all films.
In the movie, Jessica's character is a kind of guy for Jim. You are a young actress, and Jessica has a lot of experience in movies. What did you learn after sharing credits with an Oscar-nominated actress like her? Did she give you any advices?
Jessica, I mean, I was a huge fan of her before. Fan of her work, fan of her before we even met, and then to be on set with her, and for her to kind of live up to all my expectations and more of what I saw her as before I knew her, which was like a very strong, very determined, and very kind of a powerful woman in the industry. And being on set with her, it was even more so. I mean, the way that she conducts herself around the crew, around the cast. She was so kind and generous, you know, and kind of helping me along the way, and she really kind of took me under her wing, and I feel like a more confident actor and person because of meeting her.
In some series or movies, the suffering or power of some female characters is usually highlighted to show that they're really strong, but sometimes doesn't seem necessary to emphasize it to understand it. Is this the right way to show feminine empowerment in the industry, or do you think that it will be enough to have a good development of the characters for the audience to understand the whole idea?
Suffering is in the world, so it's part of the world. I think to make films without that would be to not really show a true depiction of what the world is. I think it is important for us in our industry to understand that we shouldn't maybe necessarily use suffering as a tool to make a character stronger. A woman is strong without having to suffer. And I don't like the idea that an abuser is credited with a woman's strength. That's something that comes solely from her and her alone.
Yeah, and her resilience and how she copes with that suffering.
She's strong in spite of suffering, not because of it.
Yeah.